Hello, welcome to session 3 of Brilliant Health. I'm Paul Scheele. I'm your guide through this program. Welcome back, or welcome aboard to the third session of our 6-session series. How are you doing? What kinds of changes are you noticing in your health and wellness? Have you practiced overcoming overwhelm to improve your mental and emotional well-being, especially under times of distress or catastrophic change or upheavals of some kind? And were you able to listen to some of the Paraliminal sessions? Were they able to assist you? Well, in this session, we're going to be focusing on finding and maintaining your ideal weight. You can think of this session as a way of enhancing your relationship, not just with your body, but with food as well. We're going to be covering the weight loss roller coaster and how to step off of it. 3 strategies for effortless weight loss. Yes, effortless. We're going to be talking about the mirror, and that's about how your relationship with your body really matters, especially when you look at yourself in the mirror. And finally, it's about shifting your relationship with food and nutrition. So if you're ready to get started, let's get into the ideal state for learning. That's the ideal learning state. We're going to do a little drop-in process. So make sure you get a drink of water to hydrate. And then come have a seat. Feet on the floor, hands resting on the lap. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, close your eyes. And bring your awareness of yourself to the space your body is occupying. You know, with all the busyness of your day, you've probably got your mind wandering and running around all kinds of other things. But when you bring it to the space your body is occupying, you drop in to the resources that are available to you. All of your resources as a mature human being exist right here, right now. So let your shoulders relax. Let your forehead smooth out. Relax the muscles of your face all around your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw. Get a hint of a smile. Notice the rhythm and flow of your breath in your nostrils. And see if you can have the inhale and exhale flow into one another. Smoothly, deeply, and evenly, so that the exhale and inhale are of a similar duration. You are aware of yourself from head to toe. Physically, emotionally, mentally, you're very present to the great resources that are within you and all around you. Right now, you're safe, you're nourished, you're loved, and you are worthy. You are sufficient. And the life that you're choosing to live with brilliant health at your ideal weight, an ideal energy and vitality level is available to you now. Regardless of how your life has been up until now, there is a way to live the life that you choose. Bring into mind what your ideal weight, your ideal body size and shape would look like and feel like. And with the resources, the ideas, the skills, and strategies you gain here, imagine enjoying, achieving, and maintaining your ideal. As you once again become aware of yourself in this sitting position with your shoulders relaxed, your face relaxed and smiling, and the breath flowing, touching your nostrils. Gently rub your hands together. Bring your hands to your eyes, open your eyes, the palms of your hands. Slowly draw your hands away from your face and into the room. Welcome here. This is our opportunity to get into ideal weight. I noticed when I turned 40 that suddenly the weight that I hadn't fluctuated almost at all for most of my adult life, suddenly there was an extra 5 pounds, and then there was 10 pounds, and then there was 15 pounds. And whereas for close to 35 years, I hadn't fluctuated more than 2 or 3 pounds off a set point. Now, it's natural as we age that things change, but what I was discovering is that no matter what I did to bring it down, it would just keep coming back. I took a 30-day trip to Europe on my 30th wedding anniversary with my wife, and I came back 18 pounds heavier. It was a good trip. I came back 18 pounds heavier, and for a year and a half, it remained. I mean, you know, there is this idea that things shift, but also our eating behaviors, our exercise behaviors, the way in which we manage our lives also has to shift in response to it. If you remember an early chart that I showed you about what's your present state, and then adapting to get to your desired outcome, feedback will let you know, have you moved in the direction of your goal or have you moved away from it? Well, I was moving away from it. And at one point I was at 181 pounds and my ideal weight was around 160 to 165. And what I learned not only brought me to 154, which was a little lower than I wanted to be, but it brought me ultimately to my ideal weight, which I have maintained for the last 3 years through the practices of nutrition that I'm going to share with you today. So, do you have an idea why most people experience weight gain after dieting? You know, we try to diet, shift the way we're eating, but once that diet ends, we tend to put on more weight than we had at the beginning. There are a couple of reasons for this. Number one is that if you think about it, biologically, the number one killer of the human species throughout history has been starvation. And so we're designed as a species to pack on food or pack on fat in order to live off that during lean times. And after millions of years of evolution, we're still living in a biology that doesn't know how to cope with the kinds of foods that we're getting today. The 3 foods that have been most difficult to find throughout our evolution has been salt. You probably knew that. Are you worth your weight? Have you earned your measure of salt today? The Romans would be paid, literally paid for their services by a measure of salt, right? So salt was very hard to find. Fat, animal fat specifically, very hard to find in nature. And finally, sugar, sweets were very, very difficult historically to be able to find. So every time the body would be out looking for food, those are the things that we would naturally crave. Why crave them? Why not just crave a bunch of vegetables? Because as we're wandering through the planet, vegetables are the things that we could graze on all day long. They're bioavailable all the time. But sugars, fats, and salt, not bioavailable, so we would have to work or effort to get those things. So we're going to work really hard to get them, and when we get them, our body is immediately going to respond by saying, get more of that stuff, get it. So guess what the food producers have discovered? If you add salt, sugar, and fat to anything, you're going to crave it naturally, not because you need it. Interesting, a lot of the foods that are highly processed don't have much nutritional value. So as soon as you take it, not only does your body say, oh, you need more of this, but it's also going to say, there was no nutrition in that, get more nutrition. So the idea behind this is if we try to withdraw ourselves from a balanced diet, restricting ourselves, the body thinks it's going into starvation. It's actually going to make sure it does everything it can to maintain body fat. Then as soon as we come off of it, the body is going to immediately go and crave those things that it's been deprived of, because that's what evolutionarily we did. And foods have been conditioned with something called the bliss point, where there's enough sugar in it for the body to just say, ooh, I need that, without it actually tasting sweet to the palate. And this is why we keep craving foods that it can actually destroy our health. That is actually destroying health of humanity across the planet. If you can think about some foods that have the same name in multiple languages, it's probably not food. It's just highly advertised substances to get you to consume more of them, right? So think about your ability to put on and maintain weight as your successful survival advantage throughout human history. In other words, you beat the odds, you beat starvation throughout all the lineage, all the generations that brought you here. Congratulations, you can pack on fat. Good for you, right? Well, yeah, sort of. But what that means is, in order to be able to step off of this roller coaster, in order to be able to shed weight that is excess and not good for our health, we need to be able to focus on what it is that really nourishes us and get more of that. And if you think about it, what nourishes us most are mostly vegetables. So if you have fruits and if you have carbohydrates and if you have meats, good. That's good for a portion of your plate, but most of your plate should have more greens, more vegetables that are going to carry the nutritional load. As I've been doing this filming, I have a thermos with me, and I've been sipping on a green drink that I blend up every couple of days. It's just a pile of greens, power greens, kale, spinach, Swiss chard, and Napa cabbage, avocado, celery. It's got some jalapeno in it, it's got some ginger, and it's got some lemon in it. But the idea is this is rich, bitter, green veggies, and the body receives it like air. I mean, it's so delicious. And when I'm craving something in the afternoon and I start foraging, when I know I've got that green drink ready to go, I pull it out of the fridge, shake it up, and I've got it right there for me. So when I travel, I'm never without it. I've even asked hotels to blend it up for me when I go traveling. And the effect is phenomenal. I do not fluctuate from my weight more than 1 or 2 pounds up or down, depending upon, if I ate out and I've got too much salt in the diet, my body is retaining water weight. Within a couple of days, that's gone. So while nutrition is going to be a key factor, and I'm not going to get into that a lot, if you have diet supplementation, if you can get coached with a nutritionist, very good. You can ask us about the sorts of things that we're doing and learning strategies. Ultimately, I'm going to give you right now some strategies that are even more effortless around weight loss. So whatever food you do have, the first strategy is chew your food thoroughly. Your stomach doesn't have any teeth in it. So most of the physical digestion, the breaking of this bolus dose of food, this chunk of food, into more surface area where the juices of your gastrointestinal tract can extract the nutrition from that food substance, most of that breaking up happens here. The combining of your salivary juices and your chewing of it does a tremendous amount of the actual breaking down of the food. Once it passes through your esophagus into your stomach, now we're talking about absorbing it. There's some breakdown that happens in the stomach with various acids and such, but what we want to do is give the advantage to the body by actually taking time to chew our food. If you can chew it to the point where it liquefies, that's a weird thing to do, but try to keep it in your mouth till it liquefies in your mouth. You're going to find upwards of 40 chews before you swallow. Sounds bizarre. If you've never done it, give it a try. It's remarkable. The advantages to you are huge. Two things that happen right away. Number one is you slow down. So it's a good idea, as my wife likes to say, never eat without my knees bent. So she says, sit down and take the time for the consumption of the food. Not only are you going to get the advantage of the breaking down of that food substance, but your body's actually going to be able to register that you received it. Have you ever eaten a full meal and still felt hungry and kept eating? And then you got to the point of saying, oops, that was too much. Well, that's too late. But if you take the time with the food, good idea. So what we're going to do is I'm going to recommend not only that you sit whenever you can for eating, but then also take a moment to bless the food. Make it a sacred event. It's a mundane event, everybody's got to do it, but when you make the mundane sacred, the body will tend to resonate with it. So I like to set my hands on either side of the plate and just close my eyes for a moment, literally dropping in, right? Close my eyes and let the energy of my intention be in this food, blessing every hand that brought that food to this moment in time, so that as I take it, my body is nourished by it and blessed, that I can be in greater service to that divine evolutionary impulse that brought me here to this planet. So it's my prayer. When we have guests over at our house, we say a prayer that Ralph Waldo Emerson of the American Transcendentalist movement said, "For each new morning with its light, for rest and shelter of the night, for health and food, for love and friends, for everything thy goodness sends." And by holding my hands around that and just having this intention that this is a blessing to my body and I'm a blessing to those that I serve, there's a shift that happens here. And so I'm preparing myself in a sacred way to take in this sacred substance that's going to nourish this fabulous body, mind, and emotions that's here on the planet for a purpose. So chewing the food, right, with intention, what you're going to discover is that you'll be satisfied with less food. Because you're going to notice when it is you've gotten what you needed, you can push away whatever's on your plate that you don't need. And then the other strategy is to drop calories that you aren't going to miss. So let me tell you a couple of stories that will help bring these three strategies to you. And by the way, the break the habit paraliminal is really good if you know right now that you've got habits that are not serving you. It's going to be really helpful to use before our next session that we get together in. Let me tell you a story about Teresa. Teresa took one of my mind development programs, a seminar that I was teaching, and I saw her 3 months later when she and her husband brought me over, my wife and over, to have dinner with them. And as we walked in the door, I saw her. I was knocked back. I said, Teresa, what have you done? She had lost over 60 pounds in the few months since I'd seen her. I think it was maybe about 4 or 5 months since I'd seen her. I said, what did you do? She said, Paul, I just did what you said. I chewed my food with intention, set my fork down in between chews, right? Waited till I liquefied in my mouth, swallowed it, take the next bite, set the fork down, very aware, very intentional. And usually within 3 or 4 bites, I was satisfied. I have never noticed it before, but I was satisfied. So I just pushed the food away and stay with my family, enjoy the dinner. And I watched her at dinner that night. She did exactly that. You believe that? Over 60 pounds in a matter of a few months, just by savoring the food, chewing it and finishing when she was satisfied. Very important idea. The next woman I like to talk about is a woman named Karen. She lost 90 pounds. But I have to tell you, I was doing individual sessions with her at the time, and this was a case that I worked on that surprised me in some pretty amazing ways. Although I was inviting her to eat right, she said that she hardly ate anything anyway. And when I asked her, tell me the truth, is that really all you're eating? I mean, all day long. Aside from a small breakfast and a tiny dinner, she just had a few celery sticks. I mean, she wasn't eating much, but she was easily 90 pounds overweight. So, part of me was thinking, is she really telling me the truth? But I got every indication that she absolutely was honest about it. So I said, so something else is going on. Can you remember the point in your life when the weight started packing on? She said, yes, I can. I was very unhappy in my marriage. And my husband thought I wasn't slender enough. And so he committed me to a study that put me on intravenous feeding for 10 days while they did all these tests of all my metabolic functions. I couldn't get out of there. I wasn't allowed to. I had no control over my own situation. I said, how'd that make you feel? And she said, really angry. I said, what would be the best way to beat the doctors and your husband at the same time with your anger? She said, to actually put on weight when I was supposed to lose it. I said, yeah, so what were you supposed to lose? She said, during that 10 days, I was supposed to drop as many as 26 pounds. And I actually gained weight while I was there. I gained 9 pounds. I said, all right, what's the status of your relationship? She said, I divorced him years ago. I said, so are you ready to let go of your anger? You don't have to punish him anymore? She said, yes. I stayed in touch with Karen for, I'd say, 3.5 years. Within a very short time, she started dropping the weight, and she lost 90 pounds by not changing her diet at all. Think about this. It was purely emotions. And the positive intention of holding on to the weight was to protect her. I have another client who's lost 105 pounds. She was a victim of extreme abuse, actually lockdown abuse. She lost 105 pounds. Why? Because she now knows she's safe. She's safe at last. She has no reason to hold on to the weight. She's released it. Now, she didn't lose the weight, right? Because what you lose, you can always find. She released the weight, just like Karen, releasing the weight. So think about what it is your body needs in order to have you survive. Release whatever else you don't need. Carl's another example. He was a speaker on a stage where I was a speaker. We were 2 of 4 presenters over a 2-day conference. And he stood up on stage and showed a picture of him just a year earlier. He was 60 pounds heavier in that photo. He said, I just did one thing. You want to know what it is? Everybody, yes. I cut out calories I was drinking. For him, it was orange juice. Every morning, he drank orange juice. There's a lot of metabolic effects, but to drink processed, pasteurized orange juice every single morning gave him a lot of calories every day. Blood sugar spikes, everything else, also cravings that would happen after that. But the fact that all he did was cut that one thing out, he didn't cut out anything else, he lost 60 pounds. Because think about it, a calorie is 3,600 calories, a pound of weight is 3,600 calories. So if you have an extra 100 calories a day, it just takes you a month and a half to put on a pound, right? You take out that 100 calories of stuff that you aren't really going to miss, fantastic. So if you look at the kind of sugary substances, the high-fat salt substances that you're taking on, if you can find that just that one thing that you're willing to let go of for now, do an experiment for yourself and find out, did you really miss it? And I'll tell you, before I did the program that I'm doing to eat in a more paleo approach to eating, pizza was my food of choice. It's actually listed as a food group, right? It's got protein, it's got vegetables, right? It's got everything a body needs, but it was also my comfort food. I cut out wheat, I cut out cheese. Pizza wasn't going to be a part of my future, so I gave myself a 90-day challenge, and I haven't been back to it since. So, once that was out of my life, I've been able to maintain my ideal weight just beautifully. So try to identify something that could make a big difference for you. Now, there's a paraliminal that helps in all of this. This is paraliminal called ideal weight. And there are 2 sessions to it. The A session talks about your relationship with your body. I'll talk a bit more about that in a few moments, but it's how you relate to yourself. And if you scan your body and ask yourself, what is it that I really need? What is it that I can release now? You'll probably have a good idea of it. But consider also your self-esteem, the way in which you feel about yourself on an ongoing basis. The second session on ideal weight is about your relationship to food. So when you go to eat, you scan the food that you're thinking about first, make your choices, make sure that the choices are good ones when you begin. Then when you sit down to eat, do all the things that we've been talking about up until now in terms of chewing your food, being finished once you're satisfied, taking out the calories that aren't good. For me, to add a dessert at the end of the meal absolutely is not of any significant benefit to me at all. I let that go. And now I never eat fruit at the end of a meal either. Well, it's happened, but it's pretty rare. Fruit is best eaten on an empty stomach. So you need about 3-4 hours before that, after eating food, before you could eat any fruit. So there you have it. I'd like to offer you a couple of testimonials here. This one, I have struggled with my weight and self-esteem issues all my life. It is clear to me that my past successes with dieting were connected to a mindset and motivation, but I was never able to hold on to that mindset for very long. Old habits kept creeping back into my life. I actually shared that on the first session, so I want to read this next one. I have used learning strategies, paraliminals, for close to 20 years. I'm now 67. Years ago, I had difficulty with anorexia, which is the opposite of eating too much, right? And I am convinced that ideal weight program saved my life because the message inside of it was eat the foods your body needs. Now, as I need them, I use them for mental and physical boost as well. After all these years, I hear, "This is Paul Scheele from Learning Strategies." And I am out like a light. But the program always takes a positive effect and has a desired effect. I truly believe that my life has been considerably richer for the use of these programs. She's from Greensboro, North Carolina. This woman wrote, "I have been listening to the Ideal Weight Paraliminal. It has been about a month since I started, and I weigh 4 pounds less and consistently going to the health club 4 to 5 times a week. I don't have the anxiety that I felt on previous weight loss regimens, adjusting my eating habits and physical activity. I enjoy my time at the health club. I stress eat less, more positive mindset about my weight and body image. I feel I will be successful in reaching my ideal weight. Thank you, Learning Strategies." This man said, I got the weight loss paraliminal to help address my issues with eating too much sugar and processed food. In the first month, I've been able to tighten my belt 1 notch. I feel more relaxed, less focused on eating unhealthy foods, and more focused on eating healthy foods like green smoothies with spinach and kale, which sounds absolutely ghastly, I know, but let me tell you, once your body recognizes it, it'll love it. Since beginning with Paraliminals, I have never eaten more healthy or felt more energized at age 54. Well, I love these testimonials because it's just an example of a technology that doesn't tell people how to live their life. It just puts you in touch with resources that are already within you so that you can then put those into action for you. And we're going to talk a bit now about the person in the mirror. You may have heard that song. I'm starting with the man in the mirror, right? So what is it that you think of when you look at yourself? If you have a problem with the way you see yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror, there is a great paraliminal called the Self-Esteem Supercharger. And it's really about loving yourself as you are. Self-esteem is love, unconditional love of yourself. There's another activity, and our colleagues Lisa Nichols and Jack Canfield talk about it as the mirror exercise. And here's what you do. At the end of your day, you stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself. Just scan your body, look at yourself in the face and say, "I am proud of you for." So I look at the mirror and say, "Paul, I'm proud of you for," and I'll list 5 things that I'm proud of myself for. Then, second is, "I forgive you for." So I'll look at myself and say, "Paul, I forgive you for eating pizza today. Paul, I forgive you for not getting the exercise you needed. Paul, I forgive you for," and I'll list 5 things that I forgive myself for. And then I do number 3, which is I commit to you that. So I look at myself and say, "Paul, I commit to you that tomorrow, instead of eating pizza, I'll focus on healthy choices. Paul, I will commit that even if I'm sitting in front of the computer all day working on something that's on a deadline, I will get up, I'll exercise, I'll move. Paul, I commit to you that," and so I'll continue to say, I commit to you for 5 things. So 5 things I'm proud for, 5 things I forgive myself for, 5 things I commit to. And then I'll look at myself in the mirror and say, "Paul, I love you." And I'll hold that eye contact and let that wave of love, that smile on my face, to permeate the cells of my body. Because look, I have to be my own best friend. You have to be your own best coach. You have to be your own best psychotherapist. You have to be your own best confidant and friend. There's nobody on the planet knows you better than you. Even if you laid back and did psychotherapy every day for 20 years, a psychotherapist would still not know as much about you as you do. So you are the one who knows the most about you. Treat that relationship with love and respect. Who you are as a spiritual presence inhabiting the limitations of this physical body. It's got stuff going on, right? It's got thoughts that aren't supportive. It's got emotions that aren't supportive. It's got behaviors that aren't supportive. When those show up, explain to it, tell it, direct it, develop the habit of getting you in the direction of where you want to go. The mirror exercise is a great thing to do. If you do it for a couple of months, every single night, you're going to see within probably the first 5-7 days a profound change. But the clarity of your thinking and the strength of your intention will just be amplified as you do this. Now, I'll guide you through that as a closing drop-in just a few moments, but I want to suggest these paraliminals. There is the You Deserve It paraliminal, which was a recording I did with Lisa Nichols. It's based on this idea of giving yourself a second chance. No matter what it is you may have done up until now, give yourself a second chance. Give yourself 1,000 second chances. And if you get to 999 second chances, you still haven't accomplished what you want, you get another 1,000 second chances. So be your own best coach, confidant. You deserve it. Your life matters. It's a powerful paraliminal experience. The other one is called self-discipline. And it's the idea that rather than feeling that it's our willpower that does things, we're actually being a disciple or a follower of a way of being. So we talk about the emerging future, that ideal end result that I'm attempting to get to. If you become a disciple, a follower of that ideal future, then you'll find that your eating behaviors, your nutritional behaviors, your exercise behaviors are going to get into alignment with it. So as next steps, I'm going to invite you into a drop-in in just a moment. We're going to be choosing the right foods, eating slowly with consciousness, pushing the food away when satisfied, and looking at yourself at the end of each day. Play with the mirror exercise. The paraliminals, ideal weight A and B, self-esteem supercharger, self-discipline, you deserve it, break the habit. All of these are going to be very powerful for you. So let's do a quick drop-in and finish up. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, just close your eyes and settle in to the space your body is occupying. What a magnificent human body you have. It's unique in all the world. It's miraculous in every way. It deserves your love and your attention, your care, your feeding. It's filled with emotions that can be positive and uplifting or toxic. It deserves your attention, your support. Give it good emotional energy. As your shoulders are relaxed, your face is relaxed. Get that hint of a smile on your face and let those positive neurochemicals transmit into your entire physical experience. Notice your breath. As you exhale and inhale, feel that flow. Feel that balance, the presence. And in the next small steps you take over the coming 24 hours, before you eat anything, choose what it is you'll put in your body. Choose with consciousness. What is it that your body wants and needs? Will the food that you're choosing truly nourish you? If it's not going to, have some of it, but then quickly turn to those choices that are filled with nutrition to sustain health and well-being. When you do eat, eat slowly. Let the food completely liquefy in your mouth before you swallow it. Eat with consciousness. Be present. Make eating a sacred moment. No longer worried about starvation, and you experience the abundance of what's available. And when you're satisfied, simply push the food away. You've had enough. Feel that satiation, that satiety, or as the Japanese say, as a blessing before a meal, itadakimatsu. May you finish your meal before you're 80% full, right? Can you feel that sense of satisfaction before fullness? See yourself satisfied, smile on your face, pushing excess food away. And then when you see yourself at the end of the day, look at yourself in the mirror, stand before yourself, and say 5 things that you're proud of. Give yourself 5 things that you forgive yourself for. Say 5 things that you commit to for the following day. Then hold your gaze as you say, I love you. And let that smile of love spread across your face and enter every nerve and cell and fiber of your being. You can achieve what you set your mind and heart upon. You can live in brilliant health at your ideal weight, maintaining it for all the rest of your life. Now, at a rate that's comfortable for you, become aware once again of your body and the space that you're occupying. Rub your hands together. Bring your hands to your eyes. Open your eyes, the palms of your hands. Slowly draw your hands away from your face and into the rest of the room. Feeling great. Welcome back. So our next session is about sleep. Really excited about this one. It's about taking charge of your night for a better rest, for total revitalization, for productive dreaming, and actually also for productive problem solving. See you there.